Turtle Island News, live with Tracey Kennedy. Hold on, I'm going to get my coffee ready, my magic mirror, my dancing shoes. How was your weekend? I hope you had a great weekend. Enjoyed your family, had some nice sunny weather. We actually had some sun, a little bit. It wasn't, oh my God, it's so freaking hot out there. It was actually nice. So we are being simulcast today, turtleislandnews.info, home station, of course, and I want to remind everyone that you can see the blog archive now with related links and stuff on the left-hand side of the page, so you don't have to keep scrolling back. You can leave me a message again on the left side of the page and subscribe if you want. There's no charge for that. Also, top of the page, archives and things like that. Leave me a message, dirty limerick, whatever you like. And again, good morning to everyone. Revolution Radio, Studio A. Waving. I'll be there in a little while. I, of course, have a Brazilian half windows open. And Wake Radio group. Good morning, everyone. So, mega rituals, blood moon, quakes. Chile has brought September the highest amount of major earthquakes in 1 month since April 2014, which, coincidentally, was the month of the first blood moon. She says to herself. Now, a 6.1 quake was the 15th major quake, or aftershock, if you will, to strike in the last 5 days. Now, today's quake was the 20th major quake this month, the 108th this year. This month needs another 7 major quakes. I'm not saying need like we have to have, but with 8 days to go on to beat the April 2014 total of 26, which coincidentally also blood moon month, highest total in the last 3 years. And I will put a graph up because I know some of you guys are nerds as well and you like to see the numbers. So I will provide you with said numbers because it's important. We need to see a graph, the pictures, the signs. And we have been warned about signs and wonders and the clock. And I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because this Orwellian time space that we're in is getting so far off the chain that it's like a tragic comedy. It's like one of the Greek comedies. Now, human rights, which should be spelled RIGHTS, but is looking more like RITES. Because we have to thank the UN right now. Saudi Arabia, the announcement of the appointment of Saudi Arabia at the head of the panel of the Council of Human Rights. Your hostess today does not believe that. But then, after thinking, after all that's going on in the world, it is just the order of things right now. Right in your face, they no longer give even one puck for the hockey fans out there. If they're not even hiding the crap they're doing, they're like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. If United States, creators and owners of Guantanamo, of the Abu Ghraib BS, the largest number of prisoners in cages on the entire friggin' world, can afford to regard themselves as a standard of human rights? Hey, why not Saudi Arabia? Kill, starve innocent people, being considered now throughout the world as a violation, supposedly, of human rights. Except for the United States, which by itself starves and kills more people than all the countries combined. Now, to say that the United States is the pattern of human rights, I guess doesn't shock anyone. Why should we be shocked when it comes to Saudi Arabia? The Saudi head of the panel, the Council of Human Rights, is like the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to Barack Obama, one of the most vile in-war presidents America has ever known. This is the new standard in this Orwellian world. But this appointment may even have something beneficial. That may be the end of the rightism, who did so much damage in recent years in the world. As appearances were met, there was room for some hypocrisy, which allowed to exploit the good feelings. It will now be difficult to ignore. You cannot pretend this way. How would you listen without laughing to a speech by Saudi Arabia on human rights? The House of Saud, who I haven't even gone into this story, but I'm working my way up to it, is also where we get the Sith Lords from. The Republic, the end of the Republic, the guys in black. This is these guys. This is the axis of evil, one of the partners. This is these guys. So he's taken the lead. The council of the panel of the I can hardly even say it. I know I shouldn't even be laughing. UN Human Rights. So, for the people who've been listening for a while and realize that I read something into everything, so they have mastered the human domain and put the House of Saud in charge of human rights. As spelling go and chants and rituals, I'm thinking, yep, perfect, well done. So the ambassador of one of the most criticized countries on this planet with recognizing status of women, minorities, dissidents, taking the head of the largest organization defending human rights on this earth. Now, according to an official information of the UN, the ambassador of Saudi Arabia in Geneva, Faisal Trad, was chosen to chair the panel of the Council of Human Rights from its 30th session, which opened Monday, September 21st, Day of Reckoning. It's perfect. It could not be any more perfect. Now, according to rumors, the choice had already been decided in June, but kept secret until now for reasons unknown. Because it's so screwed up. It gets even better, though. The main purpose of the panel of the Council of Human Rights is to appoint five officials who enact international standards choose people who will occupy more than 77, interesting number, keep that in your head, relating to the defense of human rights in different regions of the world, and to inform them about violations on these human rights. This choice has been strongly criticized by the international community. Apparently some of them have still working brains in their heads, which is a shock to me. But they've always opposed countries which are not renowned for their scrupulous respect of attaching to human rights access to such an important position, you would think. It is outrageous that the UN has chosen a country that has executed more people this year to chair a panel of human rights. Oil, dollars, politics, yeah? This is what they have. Now, amongst the violations of the most insane human rights violations by Saudi Arabia, there was the arrest of a writer and a blogger, Raif Badawi. I think that's really close. Now, in 2012, his liberal statement on his website, Free Saudi Liberals, caused his arrest, his sentencing. He was sentenced to receive 1,000 lashes for insulting Islam. Now, his wife always attempts to obtain his release, and had no success, of course. She even said on his Facebook page that the appointment of Faisal Triad was a green light to the continuation of flogging of her husband. Vicious people, vicious violations, and now this is the guy in charge of peace. He will decide peace on this planet. So my native brothers and sisters who have stepped up and think they're going to the UN for some justice, justice just got hard and nasty. Now, continuing, something that came up, and I realized this are some of these things because I was sent this. USA Today did this new dislike button thing. It was satire, but Facebook released new information on its planned dislike button into users' posts. It will be likely greeted with ambivalence. It appears that the dislike button will not just be for show, though, but it will be in fact functional, affecting any post that reaches a certain threshold of dislikes received. The number being kind of bandied about by Zuckerberg and Facebook developers at the moment is 10. And receiving 10 dislikes on your wall will result in Facebook's algorithms being, of course, fed to the never-ending Jade Helm. Officially, she is compiling, but she's in control of everything. Removing the post as being potentially disruptive and upsetting to fellow users. Now, yesterday, we had an incident happen on Skype, which, if you use Skype, you've probably heard of what happened. we could not get on Skype yesterday. There was a massive attack. This was worldwide. And I do have something interesting about it that you can watch what's going on right now, because it's ongoing. The Skype outages are a symptom of Microsoft's servers under attack. So there is a real-time attack going on with the grandstand of an ongoing cyber warfare. So if you go to my page, there's a Norse attack map. Interesting that it's named Norse. Now every second, Norse collects and analyzes live threat intelligence from darknets in hundreds of locations, over 40 countries. The attacks shown are based on a small subset of live flowing against the Norse honeypot infrastructure. Take a look. It's interesting who's getting attacked and why. The why is always complicated. But the things that are going on are obviously not a coincidence, because we're about to walk into such a mega ritual. Now on September 24th, and today is the 22nd. Told you this was going to be a big week. September 24th, 2015, fall equinox. The height of the fall, the top of the spinal cord. Pope Francis will be the first pope to speak before the U.S. Congress. The sun will align on top of the Washington Monument on that day. Its shadow will stretch to touch the U.S. Capitol dome, symbolically connecting heaven and earth together. So we would think, we would hope, nothing happens then. But it's sure rolling out to something, isn't it? When we have these things, these lineups, we have Hillary Clinton, of course, and Carly Fiorina. Let's just look at what the numbers tell us, and this matchup actually could be deadly. They are 322 in gematria. This is Skull and Bones. This is the Brotherhood of Death. Probably nothing. But it's interesting that Trump peaked at 32% as well. He's been involved, and you gotta just love Skull and Bones and their images. Now, I'm amazed at some of the things that you can find out with a little bit of research, and I have to admit that I blew my own mind. Now, it was a slide from a few years ago, but it's extremely relevant this week, because many are aware that the number 322 is powerful, as it is the sacred number of the Skull and Bones in the secret society at Yale University. 322 is also March 22nd. This is the spring equinox, the day when God's Son resurrects from death to life. But what most people do not know is that the original St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican, was built starting in the year 322 AD. Said another way, 322 AD was when the Vatican was born. So history, Vatican Hill. Mons Vaticanus is the name given long before the founding of Christianity, way before, to one of the hills on the side of the Tiber opposite the tradition seven hills of Rome. The name Vatican, often seen, has often been thought to derive from Latin. Vates means seer, soothsayer, and indeed the Vatican Hill is the home to the Vates, long before prehistoric Rome, way before Christian Rome too. Vaticanus, also known as Vegetanus, was an extrusion god of prophecy. His temple was built on the ancient site of Vaticanum, so Vatican Hill. So eventually the temple to the goddess Sibyl was built on Vatican Hill. It was called Pyroganium, tiara and crossbones, skull and crossbones, Genesis 3:22. 3:22. Then the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, by the way, knowing good and evil, and now he might stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord sent him out to the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken. Probably nothing. When you start looking at this stuff and it goes back, so it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect that the Pope is coming to see us. Are you excited? Are you excited because Pope Francis is in America today? This is going to be a mega ritual. We're not even ready. From today, September 22nd to the 27th, 2015, Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, the big three, America's three capitals. First, Washington, D.C., 9/22, 9/24, the White House, St. Matthew's Cathedral, Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, United States Congress, then New York, 9/24 to 26, St. Patrick's Cathedral, United Nations, 9/11 Memorial Museum, One World Trade Center, Our Lady, Queen of the Angels. So he's going to go see the Queen of Heaven, is Isis, by the way, or Sibyl, call it what you like. Madison Square Garden next, then Philadelphia, 9/26 to 27, Cathedral Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul, esoteric as heck, we got pictures. Independence Mall, Festival of Families, Benjamin Franklin Parkway, St. Martin's Chapel, St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, Corinne from Holt Correctional Facility, then finally, Philly, to do a mass on Benjamin Franklin Parkway, aka what would we even call them? Elysium Fields, the pathway to the underworld, the stairway to heaven. This is going to be an amazing time. You excited? I'm not excited. I'm not loving it. So let's go back. Let's go back just a little bit, because we have Muhammad going to jail because he made a clock. We have to go over that a little bit, because we have to talk about the mega September 11th ritual. and the crane and the seven towers. 7 towers plus 7 towers. Because sevens are important. Sevens are a sign in almost every culture I know of. So a few commenters wanted more on the September 11th mega crane ritual disaster, where a very large and very heavy construction crane smashed into the Al Haram, killing 107 pilgrims, mostly Nigerian, where the word nega comes from. In this ancient place, this was a Vedic temple, where also the nega come from, and where all religions, including Christianity and the Muslims and the Jews, are all Abrahamic, so Brahmic religions. Now, firstly, I must give my condolences to the families of these victims. I lament this event, just as I will lament the clock tower attack when it occurs, which I think it will, and kill hundreds of thousands of pilgrims. Yep, calling it. Because I believe it's planned for September 23rd this year, which is the Islamic Eid al-Adha at the end of Hajj, and also happens to be the Jewish Yom Kippur, which is the day that a regular biblical jubilee has to be declared. My first thought on this crane event, however, was that this event was ritual in nature for no other reason that it occurred on September 11th, and we've gone over that. And in the exact same location as I was expecting to see a major world order false flag attack anyway this year. If it happened on any other day of the year, I would consider it to be a horrible accident. But it was not any insignificant day. It was September 11th. And the more I read about the tragedy, the more video I watch on this, of the weather phenomenon that caused this event, the more I realize that we may have just witnessed a bona fide act of creation. Now, if this is sent to warn both the world and the New World Order elite, I don't know. But the more I look at it over and over again, it seems like something else. Now, you can see many very graphic videos. But there are signs and there are things that keep replaying over and over again that the 2015 Hajj will be a target. Clocks and Kabbas and the attacks of the Cube, which is the Time Lord, again. And we have to pay attention to all the weird warnings, the omens. Sa'i means ritual walking. 7 times between 2 hills, the Safa and the Marwa. It represents the devotion to God in wandering of the Hajj, and Ishmael in the desert, and older things, but we'll stick with one religion right now. So at this point, it represents the Muslim act of looking for God, the Hajj. So you have the Zamzam well. And then, of course, September 11th, 2015, the construction crane built by the House of Saud. See how this is all tying together? So this accident that fell over Sa'i walkway towards the Zamzam well, they own that crane. They built that crane. Do you have to kill people to get in to the UN? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But there are enough things here that make me question. Now, it's probably the best tonic, I guess, for normalcy bias here, which unfortunately hasn't affected the majority of people, seemingly dismissing or diminishing their situational awareness. The crane fell towards the very important Zamzam well and Kaaba. It symbolically broke the Sa'i, the walkway between two hills, the Safa and the Marwa. This could be quite symbolic for the Islamic faith. As this section of the Masjid al-Haram basically is the search for God. I'm paraphrasing here. It's a story of redemption, specifically between Ishmael and his mother, Hajar. This could have been an entirely natural event, or deliberately set up to happen. There is no way of knowing for sure. It's ominous, but ask yourself, if this event was in fact deliberate, then why is this date important? Why would be breaking of the Sa'i walkway between two ritual hills by a Saudi bin Laden group construction crane? Why would it be ritually important when they just put a representative of those a-holes in charge of human rights for the world? So note that if the clock tower was built on the exact same, by the exact same Saudi bin Laden group, was to fall down into the Kaaba and the mosque, which needs to fall directly between the gap between the Marwa Tower on the western flank and the Safar Tower on the eastern flank. Coincidence? I don't think not. So again, speculation on my part. All of this. Can't prove anything. But it's weird. You know, the strange things happening in the world today, as they always have, of course, we are witnessing, though, the build-up to the end of an age. The destruction of the 7 towers of the World Trade Center, on which towered over the sphere, which was dubbed the Kaaba to commerce. And I've already shown you last week how it was supposed to represent the Kaaba in the United States. But that one was money. The United States is money and violence. Not you guys, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, going on. It was a gateway to lead us to a now unavoidable crescendo. Now the 7 towers of the Abra al-Bait clock tower hotel complex, built by the Saudi bin Laden group towered over Mecca, the Kaaba at Mecca. And exactly 14 years later, so we've got the sevens again, to the day, an open occurs at location number 2, a warning. Note with particular attention the weather phenomenon that we have seen. Extremely unusual weather for Mecca, especially in September. Now, the following is from Wikipedia. Mecca features a desert climate. Unlike other cities, Mecca remains and retains its hot temperature in winter, which can range from 18 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. That's like 64 Fahrenheit to 86 Fahrenheit in the day. Now, southern temperatures and summer temperatures are like extremely hot, often over 40 Celsius, 104 Fahrenheit during the day, and it drops to about 86 Fahrenheit at night. Now, rain usually falls in Mecca in small amounts between November and January. The rainfall, as scant as it is, also represents a threat of flooding and has been a danger since the earliest times. Now, according to Al-Qardi, there have been 89 historical floods by 1965, including several in that period. Now, in the last century, the most severe happened in 1942. Since then, dams have been constructed, so this wouldn't be such a problem. Mecca is at an elevation of 909 feet, 909, above sea level, approximately 80 kilometers inland from the Red Sea. Flash floods are common during winter season, even though the amount of precipitation is low. Since Mecca is located in a desert, dust storms are common in the city. Shamal winds occur in Mecca, mostly during winter or summer months. The Shamal winds are very dusty, remain at the peak in the morning, but decrease at night. These winds occur in winter, but not often. Sandstorms and dust storms affect Mecca, as you would think, almost every month, but especially during the summer. Westerly winds bring thunderstorms to Mecca. Winter, hailstorms sometimes occur. Now, since Mecca is located in a very low-lying region, it is threatened by seasonal floods, despite the small amount of annual precipitation. There is less than 110 millimeters of rainfall during the year, so that she's dry. It mainly falls in winter. The temperatures again high throughout the year and in summer, really, really high. Now, the following extreme weather events in Mecca and the surrounding area, I want to read to you. So, I know it's kind of nerdy facts, but I like these, and I looked them up, so I have to impress you with my brilliance. You impressed? Okay, so November 2009. The Makkah province was badly affected by record-breaking rainfall, 90 millimeters. So that's like 3.5 inches. It hit the province, causing flash floods. It was the worst flood in 27 years. November 2010, thunderstorm killed 3 people. It was so powerful, following another heavy rainfall, and most of the city remained under flood for the entire night. December 2010, once the city was flooded, when light to moderate intensity rainfall battered the holy city. 4 people died. Condition in Makkah province was comparable to provincial capital. 2011 heavy rainfall created a flood situation in the provinces, especially Jebba, 4.4 inches occurred. 3 hours, killing 4 people. So, even though Mecca gets some flooding now and then, it's always around November to January. Not this September. The wild circulating winds that could be seen in many videos that you can see of the area around that time are quite phenomenal for this place and this time. It also should be remembered that this event happened directly after Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel were hit by the most unusual and severe dust storm, just adding to NATO and GCC-sponsored chaos in that region. One could almost suggest that these events were omens, perhaps portent that all hell was about to break loose in that region, which is exactly the Hegelian dialectic and the masterminds of the New World Order have been cooking up a long time now. Now the situation in the Middle East could, however, get much worse than it is now, especially since it's been confirmed that the Russian and Iranian troops have already started digging into the Syrian territory, and the United States and the usual suspects want that. Now these troops are obviously being moved to fend off the terrorist insurgents, NATO-backed rebels. You know, if you can tell the difference between them, it's hard to. Now, the main reason they're digging in is to prepare for the direct NATO alliance attacks against Bashar al-Assad, which Putin is expecting, as sure as the sun rises every morning. Now, considering this, is the area that World War III officially will start. A dust storm leading up to this ominous September 11th omen in Mecca should be enough to alert those who take heed to signs of times. Something is the wind, and the desert storm approaches. It is a bit of a miracle that one crane didn't topple during this, well, more than one crane didn't topple during this weather phenomenon, because it was incredible. And considering there was about 15 of them spanning the perimeter of the Grand Mosque, the death toll could have been much worse. If a single crane could do this much damage before Hajj pilgrims even arrive, imagine how much damage the massive 7 towers of the clock, Abraj al-Beit clock tower complex would do, if I'm correct. And they were built especially for this Hegelian geopolitical crisis trigger, just like 9/11, 2001. Now, especially if such a thing happened during these events at the end of Hajj, with well over 1 million people in direct firing line, it's quite unthinkable. We're coming to the end of a double Shemitah period of 7 years, plus 7 years, and the climax in financial and social crisis seem cooked up. Already happened, but it seems to all coincide with the grand finale. Consider how a double 7-year ritual period could be ritually complemented to start with the destruction of the 7 World Trade Towers by Osama bin Laden, at the end of the destruction of the 7 Mecca hotel towers built by the Saudi bin Laden group, only extremely cashed up elites with lots of time on their hands could come up with something so diabolical to birth their new fascist planetary new world order. And feel free to sing the Star Wars theme in your head right now. Weird? Is it outrageous? This is the eon of Horus. The only day that the New York Stock Exchange bell failed to sound, the lowest Dow daily drop ever, 777 points. Solar lunar years, Shemitah, 7. Proclaiming liberty throughout the land, the inhabitants of. This is, Liberty Bell stuff. Symbolic parallels. United States Liberty Bell has Jubilee law from Leviticus literally cast in its surface. Jubilee occurs 47 years, 7 times 7. It's hard to just ignore these things, Hopefully I'm wrong, that nothing like that'll happen. But these bubbles always come up. Bubbles, techno boom, supernovas, almost technical booms in this place. And then U.S. government intervention. Let's go over just a couple things. Now, Dow drop, October 27th, 1997. It dropped 554.26 points. This was all leading up to a techno boom, almost supernova, nova kind of thing. Then another drop. April 14th, 2000. It went under 617.77 points. U.S. intervention, then another war, Iraq, Afghanistan. This was more security supernova. Then again, denial about this whole thing. And now we have going to September 29th, 2008, 777 point drop, and then going up to a bailout and the weird supernova that we're already in right now, leading up to August 24th, 2015, a drop of 588.42 points. This is the new economic order model around carbon, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, technocracy, global fascism, posing as socialism. This is UN, this is the IMF, this is the BIS, government interventions, big war, NATO. On one side of this, we have New York City, West, 7 towers, One World Trade Center. That's one level. The other side we have East, 7 Mecca towers, the Hotel Clock Tower, the Hajj Tower, the Zamzam, the Makam Tower, the Kibble Tower, the Marwa Tower, the Sofa Tower. This, I don't know, it's bothering me. It's bothering me a lot. I wasn't going to talk about it because it seems like I don't want to just say bad news, but it's kind of looking like they're trying to break the Jubilee itself. Now, the concept I'm talking about here is really It's pretty simple, actually. It's extremely hard to explain in the implications, especially with all the different players who are being sucked into it. Now stay tuned for the upcoming post on Shemitah and Jubilee cycles, because they're trying to break it. And if you want to understand the meaning of the double seven from the occult perspective alone, because it's important. It's important to look at this. When we look at Washington, D.C. in the inverse pentagram, lying on the 77th degree longitude, the all-important 77 point is always indicated, and it's the key to understanding the true meaning of this device, the Washington, D.C. death trap. That's what it is. In the late 1700s, during the explosion of Masonic occult, subversive esoteric movements such as Bavarian Illuminati, one of the most important expressions of occult ideas surfaced in the very center of what the world would become the world's next imperial pivot, Washington, D.C. That's why it's important today and why I want to say this to you. With that creepy black robe guy up there. And I have a picture of him kissing this little baby girl. You need to see his face. Look at his face and look at the face of the guy holding this little girl. Look at his hands. Look at these two grown men. Tell me that's an okay picture. Now, friggin' Sith Lord comes in now. Washington, D.C. First appearing in the commissioned plan of Pierre Charles L'Enfant. It became the central feature of the executed plan, even though L'Enfant was excused from his role due to conflicts with other parties. The inclusion of this geometric device into his street plan was not for aesthetic purposes. In fact, it is quite impractical for any kind of road system nestled in any kind of rectangular city block, although L'Enfant was publicly only the first degree Freemason, having been initiated in New York City before he was allowed to make this. The influence, though, of unnamed Masons and occultists definitely behind this inclusion. For the reason of this importance, it sits at the center of a Gnostic idea, which is on this very day holds influence over the great Anglo-American imperial elitists. It is a fingerprint from which we are all suffering. Let's take a little break. You're listening to Broken Codes. You cannot take that from me. My small reprieves, your heart of gold. Burn me like a battlefield, locked inside a holy war. Your love and my due diligence, the only thing worth fighting for. The only thing worth fighting for.
sound like a freight train coming, bringing those killing winds of a hurricane.
Everyone, you're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. We are on Revolution Radio, Studio A. Good morning, everyone. TurtleIslandNews.info, and of course the Wake Radio Group. We're all listener supported and love your help, everybody, and so glad you're here today. So we're speaking of ritual and a fingerprint that I'm seeing thrown and waved in my face a little bit. A fingerprint that can be seen in further rituals in the uses of 77. We have flight AA-77 on September 11th, 2001, which magically impacted the Pentagon. Number 2, we have Venus 77, one of 4 Boeing 747 flight command centers, which took to the air over Washington, D.C. just after AA-77 smashed, once again magically, into the Pentagon, September 11th. 77 has a numerical significance central to A and A, aka Thelema, Aleister Crowley's satanic cult system, where it represents a core idea revolving around sex magic, or six magic, or sick, which is the system used in the September 11th mega ritual. I'll explain. We have the Georgia Guidestones, New World Order 10 Commandments for the New Age, which was unveiled 22nd of March 1980. So that is 322 numerically. Just 2 days after the vernal equinox in 1980, which was the beginning of the 77th Thelemic year, since Crowley declared the beginning of the Aeon of Horus, 1904. Then we have CVN 77, the last commission Nimitz class supercarrier, United States Navy, christened the U.S. George H.W. Bush, after the patriarch of the most subversive un-American political dynasty in the history of the United States, George H.W. Bush, as well as George W. Bush Jr., also patrons of the American Legion Post 77 in Houston, Texas. To add a little bit more synchronicity here, I'll explain, but this has a significant occult bearing, relates directly to Aleister Crowley's system of Thelema. 7/7 London bombings, 2005, false flag attack perpetrated by the British intelligence on a very important date in a very significant year, which is important, which we will explore using the pentagram and the pentagram Terra Trump calendar that was hinted at by Aleister Crowley, who actually mentioned Trump calendar. Oh yes. Used in Thelema for dating purposes. And the 7th one, the coming attack. 7 towers of the Mecca clock complex. Abraj al-Bait, which will be the sister event to September 11th. 2001 destruction of the 7-numbered World Trade Center in New York City. The 2 monumental events will seal the esoteric 77, 7 towers plus 7 towers, making a completion of the first full pentagram, 111 years of Crowley's Aeon of Horus, declared in 1904. I know, it's wild. Or it'll be a good story. I could be wrong. Most likely I am. I hope I am. Now, symbolically, a magical symbol of the sun is a circle and a dot in the middle of it. Interestingly, one of the first symbols of Christianity was a triangle with a dot in it. Now, the Order of the Bavarian Illuminati, who were initially called the Perfectionibilis, came to Providence late 1700s. Freemasonry was targeted for infiltration. The Illuminists, who were followers of Adam Weishaupt, which we've talked about before, were instructed to sign all official order documents using the symbol of the sun, a circle with that point in the middle. Now, though this might be a trivial aspect of Illuminism or the Illuminati, it is important, though, to a later date, known as Thelema. It is a satanic cult, externalized by Aleister Crowley. The word externalized, I'm using this here because it is the author's informed opinion, me, that a pre-existing undercurrent in all British aristocracy since the days of the Hellfire Club, and perhaps before, surfaced through Aleister Crowley, who purposely acted as a conduit for its transmission to the outside world. This has a way of coming out parties of sorts, referred to as the Aeon of Horus the Child by Crowley. Much of Thelema, termed by Crowley as scientific Illuminism, is original to Crowley, but the core philosophy of his sex magic belief is contained in the simple symbol of the sun. Predates him by a Brazilian years. Now, perhaps his handlers represent an unbroken continuum that goes right back to the Anu and the Anunnaki, and yeah, I'm going there. It's a long story. Bear with me. Now, extremely simple concept once again. The outer circle, a boundless infinity of physical space, X, Y, Z, which can only be measured if a point of origin is assumed. This boundless space is identified as a female aspect, a womb of sorts. Crowley identified this aspect as nuit, or nuit, or night. Could be the French word night. N-U-I-T. But it is a name referring to a woman representing the triple blackness, the black, dark, blue night, the sky at night, the dark evening when there is no light and no stars, which contains the stars within herself. This is the Queen of Heaven concept. Another name for the concept of Nui is Leia, which is why there is a Princess Leia in that story. This is why this year is when that comes back. The Return of the Jedi again, because, well, we have a Sith Lord in charge of, the UN human rights. That's a Sith. house of Saud is the Sith. But basically, Leia means dark, night in Hebrew. So the inner point, the dot, this is the center of being. Every object in existence must have a center of being, where Nui is everywhere, but essentially nowhere. It is the limitless. This point, though, represents a something. But because Nui is infinite in size, then this point in an overall cosmological sense is everything but nothing in particular. At first this sounds ridiculous, but it does in fact have a logical basis in philosophy. Crowley called this point had, or had it, and likened it to the male aspect, the seed of impregnation, the light penetrating the darkness, the point of creation, because there must be a point to creation. With a very simple idea, such as relates to female and male aspects of creation and existence, it is a short step to devise a sex magic cult, which involve rituals utilizing physical sperm and all kinds of analogies for ovum. In fact, there's a great truth in the use of total passive ovum of the female and totally active sperm of the male is fire and water to describe the universe works. This is fine, and how God's creation had to have come to be. However, in Crowley's cult, this concept was perverted into spermo-gnostic practices, resembling the first century Borbites, Borbites. We'll go into them. And finally into a ritual sodomy, and why we keep hearing these people being accused of that, because they're actually doing it, and practices of unspeakable and unthinkable satanic dark depths. So they've taken something beautiful, the act of love between people, which could be transformative, could be magnificent, and turned it into something that turns us into more like toilets for each other. This is the difference. That's why some of these things can sound so good, because we know it's right. Some of these things are right. Used properly, this could evolve us, this could heal us, this could be we don't even need food if we have this, or it can take us to hell. It's, they're left, right, the up, down. It's why there's two sides. So, later subjects, I'm going to be left to leave to you to research by yourself if you're into it. But don't think these practices are all unacceptable. And these are not the comical toe-sucking scandals that we hear of. This is the heart of darkness. This is extreme. This is deep, in fact. Deeper than even Charles Marlowe would care to venture. But this is not deep enough for the Thelemite. This is bottomless latrine stuff, which I will not go into. But with the female aspect being referred to as Hebrew, and the word Leia, which is Lamed, Yoed, Lomed, Hey, Lylh. There are no vowels in written Hebrew. This is darkness. The male aspect, known as hadid, is a conjugate to the Hebrew word hey lal. Hey yod lamed lamid hyll, which in Latin became our word, guess what? Lucifer, being light bearer. Now Hebrew is vital to Crowley's symbol of Lamia, because he's based his heavenly stuff on the Jewish Kabbalah, as did the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is the root system of the leading occult and practical magic movements that emanated from the British Isles during the 20th century. These movements sit at the core of what we call the New Age movement, which has stuck to the skin of humanity like burning napalm or a cyst, something weeping. Now, the core reason the number 77 is important to the occult movements, as we are exploring, is primarily because of its relationship to Leah and Halal, Lucifer. The two words in their written form contain the same four consonant sounds, and these four consonants have a total gematria sum of 75. Both words require an additional A vowel sound in order to make them even audible. Now, because the alaf in Hebrew gematria is the value of 1, the addition of 2 A's transforms each word into a total gematria of 77. This is the key concept, and I'll put up pictures later. I realize sounds like, oh good, Tracey's stoned. She's not. She would like to be, but she isn't. Okay, so because the core system of the Lima is known as the AA, the so-called silver star, Argentium astrum, that means silver star. The Greek astron argon. This is why there's so many AAs in science fiction movies. It's silver star. Sirius is commonly held to be the expression of the silver star, after which the order is named. Now, here we have sex magic, and of course, we've talked about, we have just left the house, the grand house of Sirius, the dog days of summer, and the death of the Lion King, all of these things. So we have sex magic, a cult revolving around light, Lucifer, had it, and darkness, Leah, and Nui. The male is the center point, the seed of activity in motion, a star or sun, female the outer circumference or the vessel, the void of dark space which encapsulates it. Hadid, the male, is referred to as the sun, the bearer of light, the ruler of the day, whereas the moon is the mirror which reflects the light of the sun whilst ruling the night. Again, conjugate for female, together with her stars such as Sirius suspended in her womb. The interaction of the two bring about the child principle, which is referred to as Horus, the child of true will, or Thelema in Greek. Crowley used Greek, Latin, Hebrew, English, or combinations of all to derive numbers, gematria, significance to suit his needs at the time. Using such broad method allows for almost anything, any so-called truth to be found in number games, word games, concepts. So you should understand that no matter how infantile such concepts may seem, it's very important, and very important influential people believe this crap. So if they believe it, we got to look over it, right? These methods. Not that we, mere uninitiated, believe such things are significant at all for any logical reason. Crowley makes himself quite clear in the following prayer and incantation. Thou spiritual son, Satan, thou eye, thou lust, cry aloud, whirl the wheel. O my Father, O Satan, O Son, thou the Savior, silence. Give me thy secret. Give me... Ew. Dirty words. I'm not saying it. I am not saying that. You can look this up. I'll print it. I'm not saying that thing. Anyway, thou son, Satan, thou eye, thou lust, Satan, thou eye, thou lust, thou self-caused, self-determined, exalted Most High. This is Liber Semic, ramblings of a crazy, twisted freaking person. If only that was the end of it. However, his followers and the outshoot of all the esoteric currents that we are hearing right now, it all came from this a-hole. Well, a-hole. Continuing precursor occult organizations are legion of interest is that some of his followers of the Lima to this day still deny Crowley was even satanic, usually mocking and inquire kind of thing by proclaiming that people don't truly understand what Satanism means, and that not every word of Crowley's could be taken literally, and that even though Crowley complained that the Holy Bible was full of contradiction, which it is, cognitive dissonance runs deep here, and he's talking about... Nah, I'm not buying it. Anyway, the use of 77 is thus core to all of his cultic beliefs. A prime seal of AA, which he designed personally, proves that without a doubt the significance of 77s and 7s, being the only number used to flank the Vesica Pisces symbol, suspended inside 7s in the Star of Babylon. Crowley changed the spelling of Babylon to include 2 A's, which is the key to unlocking the true meaning of many of the Lima's not so subtle secrets. Heya, Lucifer together with Leia, darkness, are important and proper to get the proper drift of what he's calling scientific illuminism, and why 2 A's are key to something hidden. Significant word games here. The whore of Babylon, also called Babylon the Great, described in the book of Revelations through Holy Bible, descriptive of the Queen of Heaven in representation as a filthy city full of harlotry, I guess. Crowley could easily have been Lord Mayor of that city. His visitors, called Thalamites, would have been the aldermen. Now the Queen of Heaven, also known in Egypt as Isis, in Babylon as Ishtar, where we get sister from. However, many of the other names exist from different currents, of course. Now her role is a patron of prostitutes later, as she symbolizes also the Virgin and the exact opposite of the Virgin. The brightest star in the sky, Sirius, Canis Minor, Dog Star, Red Star. No coincidence here, the Egyptians considered Isis to be enthroned inside on this important star. Sirius is a star, just as Sol, the sun, is a star, as it represents as a point of you in the clearest representation of Haya, or Halal, or Hadid, Lucifer, center light, star, enthroned in the womb of his mother, or his wife, and mother, darkness, Lalal, Leia, Nui, space, circumference, night, sky. Note, wife, sister, mother, daughter are all equal here, and husband, father, brother, son, not considered to be confusing in cosmic senses, just as ancient Egyptians also found this to be quite normal, and much later they married in to families like this because they had completely forgotten the meaning of this, that we were supposed to be treating each other as important, our partners as if they were sister, mother, daughter. Not that we should be doing it with each one. Yeah, we fell a long freaking time ago and lost our damn minds. Anyway, together, the male and the female signify the union. Union of opposites, everything and nothing, center and circumference, the express in essence, the something and the nothing, a state of constant embrace, the cosmic dance. Not doing the Humpty Hump and, yes, but no. Now, the product of this union is referred to as the Lima, the true will. The concept predates Crowley. It is probably everywhere. So let us explore the number 77. How it's connected to the planet Venus, which is the brightest star, in addition to Sirius, which is the brightest fixed star. I should have diagrams. I'll put up diagrams. The Venus transit pentagrams on a repeating cycle of 66, 77, 66, 77, conjunction cycles, also a correlation of 7, London bombings. In the last 77th conjunction cycle, also Aleister Crowley's birth. In the 66th conjunction cycle, the beginning of the previous pentagram, 1874. We will study this diagram closely and do further research into this strange, repetitive, digital thing. Now, the reason for highlighting the concept of the conception and birth of Crowley, the beginning of the 1874 to 1882 transit pentagram, is to bring light to the fact that Crowley's followers in high-level Satanism, occultism, Freemasonry, that such synchronicity is significant. As we all receive pentagrams and repetitive dynamics of Earth and Venus, orbital harmonics, and you can see a beautiful picture of that on the page. We make a really pretty diagram in the sky together. Now, especially attractive number keys for use in occult rituals. This again predates Crowley, as the Washington D.C. pentagram illuminates. In fact, it would be an arrogant person who did not find these numbers and pentagram harmonics between Earth and Venus to be significant of something of a higher intelligence here. In my opinion, such matters are highly valuable for the study of everything, because nothing in this universe at this level is random, and the closer we examine the solar system that we are located in, the more we realize that there's a grand design in time, in space, in structure. And one of the main purposes for what I do anyway is to explore the physical signatures that are out there of something else, where numbers and geometry leave distinctive marks. But for now, we'll just concentrate on the occult thing and the coming Mecca clock tower attack that we have been exploring. And notice that the Mecca clock tower was constructed and finished precisely within this last Venus transit pentagram, which will be important. And we'll have to talk about Crowley's and his Trump tarot. Now, 2014 was the first year of a 22-year cycle. Now again, this is Crowley stuff, and Crowley stuff is weird, and he's a weirdo. But looking at his thalamic tarot Trump pentagram tower, and I'm gonna get you a picture of that too, because when he talks about Trump towers and this stuff, here's year notation for this calendar. Since the 1904 declaration of the Aeon of Horus were represented using 22 tarot Trump card cycles, it's known as the Major Arcana. Represents 22 years in the main card. Secondary card for each component year, meaning a pentagram, can be completed on the 111th year once reached. We are currently in this 111th year. His cycle ended last year. You're still with me, I know. You're falling asleep. You guys awake? Too boring? Anyway, this cult, this AA, this Venus 77, flying command posts above Washington, D.C., September 11th, 2001. This 7-7, these London bombings, these Georgia Guidestones, all of these things pointing again to this year. And if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole, you're going to have to crawl down there. The related use of bells in recent rituals, such as London 2012 Summer Olympics, the Nazis 1938 Berlin Olympics, a very special bell, the USS Canberra ship's bell, was given as a gift to George Walker Bush, to Australian PM John Howard on the day before 9/11. It's crazy pants. Now, September 23rd, what do we have? Jewish Yom Kippur and the Islamic Eid al-Adha fall on the exact same day this year, September 23rd, 2015. This day happens to be 77 days from 7/7/2015. It was an important date in this ritual, indicated by two very important bombings. London, 7/7/2005, London bombings. February 9th, 1996, Dockland bombings, which destroyed the London World Trade Center in Canary Wharf on the Isle of Dogs. Serious? Are you serious? Yes, I am, Tracey. This last bombing was ritually invoked in the exact center of a massive and Masonic stadium floor map, London 2012 Olympics. Another important area of discussion is the Illuminati card game, Combined Disasters card, which is from the deck that was predictive of September 11th, 2001 attack. And then we have the Mecca clock tower is in fact predestined to be a combined disaster, as explained in, well, I've talked about it before. Two events, each of the seven towers, to each a seal, a ritual of 77 or a double 7, as seen as Crowley's AA, and expressed as Crowley's Liber 77, also known as Liber Os. His construction of the OTO, the aim of the AA, from a strange point of view, is to destroy all of the 3 Abrahamic religions, or all of the religions, which would be Brahmic. This is everything. This is Christianity, this is Islam, this is mainline Judaism. May not be Kabbalah, but this is also all of them. It was everybody has to do with the Yahweh Vahe. It is all the Brahmic ones. The combined disaster card features a clock that bears the time 11:11. Should be noted that the afternoon, September 23rd, 2015, just happens to be a transition point between the 10th and the 11th day of the 7th Jewish lunar month. But the transition between the 10th and the 11th day of the 12th Islamic lunar month. Islamic and Jewish calendars transition at sunset and not at midnight. That means, well, what this means is that the afternoon on September 23rd, 2015, so tomorrow, just after sunset, the day will be 11 months and 10 days into the Islamic year, transitioning into 11 month, and the 11 days of the Islamic year. This day is known as the Feast of Sacrifice. Tomorrow. This means the clock could be attacked at the end of the 10th day of the 11th month. This is also congruent with the 11:11 time shown on the clock face on the card, because the 11th and the last day has been reached after sunset of the 11th month. The next day will be the 11th of the 11th. The card artwork looks like either dusk or dawn. Can't tell. Or maybe the sky's just blackened because it's dark. I don't know. And importantly, the Mass of the Phoenix, Liber 44 of Crowley, is the ritual that the sacrifice is to be performed around. This particular ritual has to be performed in the afternoon sunset according to Satanic Theomite doctrine. Another coincidence, which I would have to make up because, well, I didn't make it up, but it sounds like I made it up. It has to be a Wednesday. Wednesday is the day of Mercury, which is highly related to Magnus in the Magus in Thelema. So this is an aspect that was evoked during every building collapse September 11th as well. All in planetary hour of Mercury, including the WTC building. And the first impact of AA11 in the North Tower was triggered astronomically exactly by Mercury directly on the ascendant. September 23rd, 2015 is also National Day of, guess who? Saudi Arabia. This is the Sith Lord freaking returning, guys. Okay, so September 23rd, King Abdulaziz declared the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Well, this was in 1932. Declared this Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Every September 23rd, the Saudis celebrate the National Day. ISIS is clearly production of the Gulf Cooperation Council and NATO, Black Ops, weapons, supply running. If the clock towers are attacked and blamed on ISIS, then the Saudi royal family will require some media cover. Presumably, the outrage of being attacked on the Saudi Arabia's national holiday, and to drum up some sympathy. But I'm telling you, if this happens tomorrow at dusk, call it in. But anyway, which is specifically important to the House of Saud, which would allow the royal family to sow the story that it had been personally attacked on their leadership by radicals who have to wear gloves because they're white guys, who have already threatened to attack Mecca, calling the Kaaba an idol in the minds of modern Muslims. This is perhaps one of the best days of the year in which the Saudis could use the date to portray personal outrage, thus covering them from any claims of involvement, the ultimate false flag misdirection. September 23rd is also the Northern Autumn Equinox. Equinoxes are a very important time of year for occultists, neo-pagans. If the North Pole and the South are considered twin towers, yes, they are, about every celestial object rotates once in a sidereal day, then on an equinox they are at a direct equal distance from the center of the sun, kind of esoteric doorway of the year that occurs twice yearly. Keep in mind that the first sacrifice of the monument, the Twin Towers, and the Masonic qualities of the ritual are really clear. The equinox is also especially important to Thalamite followers of Crowley, and in fact his periodical on ritual magic and occultism in the first half of the 20th century was published under the title The Equinox for short. Full title, The Equinox of the Gods. Considering the beginning of Crowley's externalization was the vernal equinox 1904. It makes sense that his seal of the Aeon of Horus, the ritual of the mass phoenix, would be performed on autumn, fall equinox, with over 1 million human victims, all of the Abrahamic faith. In Crowley's words, one last word on the subject. There is a magical operation of maximum importance, the initiation of the new Aeon. I told you the great work of the United States was done, finished this year. Your 4th of July, finished. Okay, back to Crowley. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood before man is ready to accept the law of Thelema. The great war must be fought. This bloody sacrifice is the critical point to the world ceremony of the proclamation of Horus, the crowned, the conjuring child, as Lord of the Aeon. So this is Aeon Flux. Where's my nerds at? I know you saw that movie. Anyway, back to Crowley. This whole matter is prophesied in the Book of Law itself. Let the student take note and enter the ranks of the House of the Sun. From Crowley's book, Magic in Theory and Practice, chapter X11, so that's 12, of Bloody Sacrifice, and matters cognate. September 23rd, 2015 is also the 2077th anniversary of the birth of the first Roman emperor, Augustus Caesar, in 63 BC. As explained before, this particular 7 ritual is actually centered around the rebirth of the Roman Empire. The exact time, well, it's planetary. The lightning strike. So, on the day the Bin Laden group crane collapsed, September 11th, 2015, a photo appeared that I have up, but all over the web, showing a lightning bolt hitting a crane. The photo is not time-stamped that I could find, so it's hard to tell whether it was taken prior to September 11th or taken on the day. Cannot be determined. I ran the image file through TinEye, which is a web crawling image signature searcher, to see if the photo appeared prior to the crane incident. To my amazement, it does in fact appear on September 11th, 2015. So, when I started thinking whether or not the crane pictured in the image was in fact the crane that collapsed, after carefully studying Google Maps and the image of Masjid al-Harim, I discovered that this is definitely the right crane. The light post in the foreground of the image, that's on the page, can be located on the western side of the mosque, and the facade features which appear behind the lamp post can be identified clearly as a unique feature of this side of the mosque. The lamp post can be seen in almost complete alignment with the crane that was struck. This line passes through a boxy looking main building thing, which protrudes on the left. This line runs through the leftmost of the two framed entrance features. This place is the crane that is being hit in the photo at exactly the correct direction as the crane fell on the eastern side of the mosque. The crane that fell is painted white and red, alternating pattern. This is the large one seen in the image, not one of the other numerous mono-colored cranes. It's specific. So I believe that the lightning strike report, legit. And quite amazed considering the date, especially if the clock tower appears, attack happens on the 23rd during Yom Kippur and Eid al-Adha. See, somebody called the cops on me. Now, if this was in fact a New World Order use of some harp type technology, rod of God, hand of God, weather modification, the alien friggin' attack squad that's surrounding the planet right now, the massive satellites, the creepy ice cream trucks surrounding our planet, and they're probably driven by clowns. So scary. That look like it. I don't know. We just need to ask ourselves whether a lightning bolt aimed at a particular crane falls into this arsenal of capability. We're going to hit the exact crane. Knowing these a-holes can't usually find their own butts with their own hands, I don't know, but considering there are dozens of cranes all over Mecca right now, all of which are pretty nice lightning rods, then what is the chance that it would hit the crane directly to fall between Al-Siraf and Al Marwat. Also, if you notice that the lightning bolt hit the crane near its base, not near the top. Thus, the height of the crane wasn't exactly a deciding factor here. That this bolt was targeted, it hoed in. It was exact. It was like, I'm going to hit it. Okay, hit that thing. So we're hovering above the earth right now. Me and you, holding hands. Probably having a drink at this point. Okay, I want you to hit that crane in Mecca 3 centimeters up from the base on the right hand side. Now personally, considering the context and the dust and the sandstorm that went from Syria right down to Mecca, I believe you need to really, really be good at this. That's targeted. That's a messed up. Did God hit friggin' Mecca? Seriously. What did that? Targeted exact. Or did they use one of those things that we've seen before where, you paint the target on, so you have one guy with a gun who's on the ground who paints the target, and as long as he's a really good shot, and it's like a ray gun, it's really fancy, it's cool. I'll put a picture of that too. So you paint the target, and then the satellite, yeah, I guess that could happen. Actually, that makes more sense than, okay, God did it. Yeah, okay. Somebody could have done that. But one way or another, that looks like an urgent warning. People all around the world, all the families. So we will continue this. It's at least interesting. And hey, we're back on Thursday, so we'll know if I'm right or not. Hopefully I'm wrong. And I'll just say it was a good story. I screwed.
They started running, buildings were falling down, the ground was shaking. There just wasn't no way out. Yeah, tragedy. Earthquakes, they don't have no sympathy.